Before I bring up the presenter, I just want to mention our thought leadership approach. You've heard a lot about blogging and Twittering. What we're doing here in shopper management, since it's an emerging space, and there's probably only some 10,000 potential members of this micro community that we're developing. There's a community on LinkedIn, a Shopper Insights community that has about 6,000 members. But we thought, since some of the best learning comes from dialogue with our consumers, that we would actually leverage social media tools to begin to have that dialogue in a more regular way, if you will, in a way to easily access. And so we've created a new blog called the Shopper Wonk. We've created a Twitter account called the Shopper Wonk, and we've created a new group association in LinkedIn called the Shopper Wonk. But the point is, it will be easy for you to follow developments in the space, and we have an incredibly robust and vigorous content strategy with some of our best thought leaders contributing to this, and I think you'll find it of great value. Okay? And we'll talk more about this. I'll have a specific call to action for you at the end. I'd like to just say a little bit more now about our panelists that are going to walk us through the case study, Rob Calarasi and Melissa Zip. Rob's a personal friend and a great partner. He's been in the industry for over 20 years and has a significant mind share at the Dr. Pepper Snapple Group company. And then he has about 60 people working in his customer marketing department. And you know, in this environment, it's tough to get head count like that if you're not delivering value. And so Rob has been an innovator and a leader in this space, and we're just thrilled to have him here with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm going to walk you through a couple of things. And the first thing I wanted to share with you, to the retailers in the room, I'm going to talk to you about two major objectives. So as I go through the presentation, just be thinking about these two objectives and the questions that you'll have for myself or the panel. The first one, the two objectives are, when we put together the shopper marketing program, we really focus on how can we help our retail customers build loyalty with their shoppers. And it's loyalty to their brand. And in this case, I'm not talking about Dr. Pepper. I'm talking about the store brand Food Line, or Kroger, or 7-Eleven. And the second area is really, once we get them in the store, how do we get them to buy more? Those are the two objectives that I would challenge the retailers to think about as I go through the presentation. To the manufacturers in the room, Jay mentioned it. We started this department 5 years ago with about 6 people. And we've grown it to almost 60 people in literally 5 years. So I'm going to share with the manufacturers two things. I'm going to share with you what we do, our business model, and more importantly, how we do it. So keep those questions in mind as I go through the presentation. I just want to warm up the engine for the panel and myself. If you think about switchers and the percentage of shoppers that are switchers, we all know the number. It's pretty high. It's 68%. But the one that always gets my attention is loyalty to a single brand. 5%. That's a little alarming, especially as a manufacturer. I think everyone would know this one. Those percentage of shoppers that shop 5 or more channels, 73%. It's a pretty high number. This one, loyalty to a single retailer, 26%. It's a little alarming. And hence why manufacturers and retailers like Food Line are partnering up to really try to understand what the shopper's wants and needs are. And how do we build loyalty? And that's the key, is how do we build loyalty? I like to ask why. And you heard Tim and Kimberly Clark this morning, and Derek, but Tim talk about the multiple messages that shoppers and consumers are being hit with, and the alternative vehicles they're being hit with. Heck, I think he mentioned he deals with 3 vehicles. I can only deal with my BlackBerry. That's the most I can do. I was impressed. 3 things. But think about what's going on with the shopper. They're getting bombarded with messages. They're tuning things out with TiVo. They're getting hit with all types of alternative vehicles, right? With the internet, with blogs, with cell phones. And all of us here in the room, manufacturers and retailers, we're trying to figure out how to talk to the shopper in a more intimate way, with things that are going to resonate, that are going to build loyalty. So I'm going to share with you what we do, and everything we do, everything at Dr. Pepper Snapple with my team, everything is through the lens of the shopper. And what do I mean by that? It's that whole path to buying. When the consumer at home is making a decision about a channel or an account, because of different wants, needs, or motivations, they become a shopper. And then they choose an account, enter the store, and our job is to convert them to buy. Okay, the whole path to buying. That's what we focus on, and that's all we focus on. I'm not talking about focusing on the brands yet. Dr. Pepper is not the focus right now. The focus is through the lens of the shopper. And when we started this department 5 years ago, the marketing team, my marketing team, thought we were a little bit outside the box. You're not going to talk about the brands? I said, no. Sometimes we don't talk about the brands until we're 3/4 of the way through the presentation. And that's a really important difference, and you'll see that come to life in a few minutes with the case studies. So I said I would share two things: what we do, and more importantly, how we do it. And anyone can do the what part, but the key is how. And that's the behavior change that Derek talked about at Food Line in this morning's session. So let me share with you the what. We have 3 phases to our process. The first is where to attack, the second is the attack plan, and the third is our activation or results plan. The first piece is we do a full shopper insight assessment. All right, we'll tear at consumer trends, we'll look at loyalty data, we'll look at segmentation. We will dig deep and truly try to understand who the customer's most valuable shopper is. Who's their primary shopper, who's their secondary shopper, who's their tertiary shopper. And we will try to understand what their wants and needs are, and then what categories or brands resonate with those shopper segments. We look at categories as strategic assets. Think about that statement. We look at categories as strategic assets. When you think about where your category is relative to the shopper, think about beverages as a category. When you go shopping at Food Line or Kroger or what have you, beverages is probably number 16 or 18 on your list. Right? What brings you to the store? Usually it's produce, the meat department, the dairy, the pharmacy, things like that. So think about the category and say, is that strong enough to really build loyalty or attract people to the store? That's the way we think.